chasing the rabbit so you don't have to. Here they are, Mark and Don, the two crazy guys.
Hello and welcome to another broadcast episode of the Two Crazy Guys. We are broadcasting down here in Southeast Arizona. We'd like to thank all of our listeners from coast to coast on the internet and all you folks up there listening to us on KYAH 540 AM up in Delta, Utah. Welcome aboard. And my name is Donald Lowry, a.k.a. Big D. And on the other side is my co-host and partner in crime, the other crazy guy, Mark Boyle, a.k.a. Prepper Guy. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing really good today. We were just talking about what should we talk about. And, watching the news, I don't think there's any shortage.
Holy cow.
Of chaos going on in the country.
Man, it's everywhere.
It is.
Yeah. And, which is good for us.
Yeah, I guess it keeps us talking. We never had a problem coming up with stuff to talk about when we're together.
No. And it always seems to stray off into the abyss. So that's why we're chasing rabbits. So
yep, right down the rabbit hole. Well, I just commented on something from Richard Mack on a constitutional sheriffs and police officers post on Facebook. And I guess there's a ruling in Connecticut that the courts decided that the Sandy Hook victims can sue the gun manufacturers.
I saw that.
And I was like, okay, so we've lost our courts, at least in a lot of areas. We have no, House of Representatives anymore. We've lost that.
Yeah.
And the presidency is straight up under attack.
Yep.
And it's like, I think we're more doomed than we actually even understand. As a people, I think it's all over, but the crying.
I will not argue that point with you, sir.
Well, you're supposed to talk me off the cliff here.
Sorry, man. I guess we ought to hold hands and just jump because I think that's where we're going anyway, man. It's absolutely crazy. Our country, our republic, is under siege right now.
Yes,
and if we don't do something about it, I'm telling you, we always talk about the elections and how important they are and all this stuff. I'm telling you, this election, we're coming up on it, and this is going to be the most important election probably of our lifetime because it's going to differentiate whether we stay a constitutional republic or we turn into a socialized democracy.
Yeah, I think so. And I've heard that my whole life. This is the most important election, but yeah. It doesn't mean that each one isn't the most important. It's just they become more and more prioritized and more important.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at the onslaught of, that we talked about why we need to get educated last week. Is you have, the Green Deal and you have the socialist movement. You have Trump under attack. Rand Paul said the other day that this is the most heinous thing he's ever seen, this false attack on our president. And, with the cover-ups and the FBI and the CIA and everybody doing all this illegal stuff and covering up Hillary and covering up Obama's Justice Department. And you just look at it and you go, I don't know how to fix it because, we can talk until we're blue in the face, but those people in Washington just flat don't care.
No.
And if you're an American that thinks that we don't have a war going on, like Alex Jones said, a war for your mind, you and I and even Michael Savage and Alex Jones and all of them, were really just like an air pistol in a war where the media has the tanks and the B-1 bombers and the heavy artillery.
Yeah.
And we really, it's hard to look at it and go, I need to get involved. I can't get involved. It's like, but you're seeing it. You're seeing the current drag everything downstream, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, you see Manafort. Manafort is, excuse me. Manafort's in big trouble.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing. This is what happens when you're an ally of Trump And then they start investigating, and then they start finding things out. But, none of this has anything to do with Donald Trump. This is all, apart from what he did with Donald Trump.
Right.
The whole Russian collusion and all of this stuff is just, oh my God, Mark, we could pick a rabbit hole and run for days and never run out of topics to talk about.
No, and whether Manafort maybe did something right or wrong with his taxes or whatever they're bitching about, nothing that anyone else in Congress hasn't done and lobbying and
Right.
all that, not
Right.
filling out a form and stuff, because his partner, during that time, they both preemptively filled out that form because they were lobbying on behalf of a foreign government. But it's all about Manafort. What about the other guy? And so it's a witch hunt, and they can sit there all day long and say, well, he did break the law over here. Okay, but what does that have to do with what we're all talking about, which is Russian collusion?
Right.
So yeah, they looked under a rock and they found something, but
Nothing to pertain to Trump.
no, it's not like they're investigating Barack Obama talking to that one Russian guy before the election. He goes, when I get reelected, I'll be able to have more wiggle room and deal with you better. That's collusion.
Yes.
That's conspiracy.
Yes.
And yet that was caught on mic. Everyone in the nation heard it. There's no mystery. You don't even need a Mueller investigation.
And no one said a word about it.
Crickets. Nothing but crickets. Hillary Clinton and all her shenanigans. Crickets. Benghazi. It's like everything that goes on in that room over there. Don't even pay attention over there. It's like that. Don't worry.
Roger Stone has disappeared. We hear nothing out of Roger Stone.
Right.
Where did that go? That went down the nowhere zone. I mean, the guy is still out there, and he's probably still, having issues. But because they have yet to link anything criminal to Trump, it's forgotten about. It just disappears.
Right. And I haven't been up on top of what, Alex and them guys on InfoWars has been saying, because he's good friends with Roger Stone.
Yeah.
So maybe something's going on, but you're not going to see it in the lamestream media.
No.
And Fox continues to just be out there in La La Land. Oh, I like him. Oh, he's a nice guy. It's like, eventually you have to pick your friends a little better than that.
Yeah.
So I'm always this close to giving up. And then, we touched on it last week, I think. I think it has to be local. I mean, first you have to save your family and you, and stuff. And then you have to be local. And if you got a good sheriff and at least you got your county locked down, you're a little more insulated when it all collapses. But, because there's only 3,300 counties or something like that in America. So it's not as big of a thing. You work on yours, and if there's a couple hundred other people that work on their county, it starts coalescing into something that's salvageable. But,
yeah,
as far as going beyond your county borders, for now, I would just say, stay at home, fix your problems at home and your local community and your county. And then you can worry about fixing another project.
So what do you think of this? What do you think of Beto O'Rourke and Joe Biden together on a ticket?
Well, that'd be a good comedy show too. Because Joe Biden, I'm sure I've seen pictures of him online hugging Hugo Chavez, and and so he's that doesn't mean that they're a bad guy. Everyone hobnobs and shakes hands and stuff, but Biden's. I'd rather elect my dog.
Creepy Joe Biden. Yeah, well, he hasn't formally announced that he's coming in yet, but he's coming in. I guarantee you he's coming in.
Yeah.
And, I said, I still said that it's still early. The fat lady hasn't sung. And I still have that conspiracy part of me that says Hillary's going to jump into this thing. But everybody's saying she's not, and all the right now, everything is pointing to the fact that she is not. Maybe this is going to be their October surprise.
Yeah, it'd be a surprise, all right. Well, it's so much illusion going on. It's like we, talked about, misdirection and, David Copperfield making the Statue of Liberty disappear. Well, I don't think most Americans and, good conservatives that care, patriots, understand what this illusion is. Because if you were from Mars or some other planet and you watch David Copperfield make the Statue of Liberty disappear, and you're only seeing it from that one point of view that the camera is showing you and none of the other angles behind the scenes and stuff, you would probably think, oh my God, we don't want to go there. They can make buildings disappear,
Yeah.
But we all know it's an illusion. But when you're watching the news and you're seeing all these, pie in the sky fake stories and stuff, you're only seeing it from Fox or CNN and all that. And you're really, even with Fox in the picture, you're not seeing behind the scenes and the lies that are going on. And so we're being so confused.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's easy to, get discouraged. I am.
Yeah. Well, they bombard you from so many different directions. And like we've said, if they continue to feed you the same thing over and over and over again, eventually you begin to believe it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how to look at it. I mean, I would like to be the silver bullet that reaches out and everyone's like, yeah, let's fix this. But you're really one part in a million, and it's really hard, and maybe it's just fate. I mean, all great societies have collapsed, and if it's not for nothing other than just physics, you get so much on the foundation, eventually it collapses.
Yeah,
and Rome, the Byzantines, there's just been so many great societies that just collapsed under their own weight. So maybe it can't be fixed. I mean, we can protect ourselves when it collapses and not be standing in the wrong place, I guess, to where a beam falls on you and crushes you. But
right. Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to have to take it to a break. Gosh, it's already here. It's amazing how fast the time goes when you're having fun and you're chasing rabbits down holes. So we will take a break, and we will come back shortly after this. Stick around. There's plenty more to come, so don't go away.
Hi, this is John Jeffers, inviting you to listen to my show, The Jeffers Brief. On The Jeffers Brief, we discuss topics of interest and concerns for preppers and patriots. And you can only find us on the Contra Radio Network on podbean.com or KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. Hope you join me, and we'll talk to you then.
Let's talk about tea. Not just any tea, getthetea.com. They have all kinds of cool stuff. They have cleansing teas, they have stuff for eye health, stuff from the sea, immune support, stamina and energy, food and protein, and just all kinds of cool stuff. Log on to the website at www.getthetea.com. Log on now. The Jeffers Brief, the Two Crazy Guys, the Conservative Underground, and Prepping 2.0. Listen to all of your favorite programs on the Contra Radio Network. www.contraradionetwork.com. Log on now. Hey, this is Donald Lowry, a.k.a. Big D.
And this is Mark Boyle, a.k.a. the Prepper Guy.
And you're listening to
KYAH, Utah's Talk Authority.
Talking the issues and taking the hit. Here they are, the Two Crazy Guys.
All right, and welcome back to the second installment of this week's edition of the Two Crazy Guys. And hey, listen, we want you to go over to ContraRadioNetwork.com, listen to all the shows that are over there. And if you could find it in your heart to donate a couple of dollars to the Contra Radio Network, just go to www.contraradionetwork.podbean.com and click on the donate button there, and donate a couple of dollars, because that's what kind of helps keeps all of this thing going. This is under the Contra Radio Network umbrella, and without John Jeffers and the Contra Radio Network, I think Mark and I would be lost anyway.
Yeah, and without support from our fans and listeners, it's hard to make it all work. On so many levels. So go over there. Not right now. Finish listening to the show, and then go over there. When you were talking about something that I was smoking and fuming about a few days ago, and it's a good thing my memory is crap, because I get all worked up and then I forget. But you were talking about this college thing, which is a joke on so many levels.
Man,
from the funding and the student loans to now this whatever it is that's going on.
So this whole scam, this whole college, bribery thing, it's not something that's new. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. That only certain people get elected to these big, Ivy League colleges and stuff, but there's a difference, because it's never really, I don't think, ever been on this level, to the point where and we're paying big dollars here to get our kids into these schools. Some of this Hollywood elite getting their kids into these colleges and stuff. And the first thing that came to my mind, Chelsea Clinton. And you know who came to my mind next? Malia Obama. Well, Malia Obama.
Yes.
How do you suppose those kids got into the college? Maybe. I can't prove it, and you will never hear. I'm just making. Look, this is my freedom to express my opinion.
It's a conclusion.
I am pleading the First Amendment here. Okay. For those of you in the NSA that are listening to this program. But, the thing is, it's insane and this is white elite privilege.
Yes.
By the very people who have accused you and I, or Donald Trump and the rich Republicans, of the white privilege nonsense. And these are the very stinking people that are making those actions. Oh, you know who else comes to mind?
Maybe
it's the president.
No.
Who else comes to mind is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes. That chick. Was she a cocktail waitress at one time or something? And now she's
now she's an elite. She's got a doctorate degree or something, right?
Oh, wow. I've thought about printing a couple of those up for me, because I'm pretty good at, printing stuff that looks really official.
She's either got a doctorate or a master's degree or something. I don't know what the degree is, but yet
she went to bartending school. Maybe.
The dumbest thing, in my opinion, and here we are. Now it's all breaking out. I'm just wondering, it's unbelievable, Mark, what these people can get away with. The hypocrisy of the left it's unchecked in so many different ways. We talked about it a little bit in the first segment, with Hillary Clinton, and, if you and I, or if anybody that Donald Trump knew had been caught bleach bidding hard drives and smashing them with ball peen hammers, everybody and their brother would be sitting in jail right now.
Right. And yet they get away with it, like we said, just carte blanche with their crimes. Well, and I remember that movie with Rodney Dangerfield, Back to School or something.
He was great.
Yeah. And so there, rich people have always done things for universities to, get somebody in and stuff. But now it's just flat out, give me money. It's not like they're building a building or a library or a hospital wing or something. They're just, which is probably the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But now you're seeing it with people that aren't even, philanthropists and stuff. It's just like, oh, can I buy my kid into college and stuff? And I don't see the point, because I think college is a waste of time unless you're going to become some kind of very specialized professional, brain surgery or engineering or something. But, these people go to school to get a degree in basket weaving or something, and they get these student loans, and then I'm supposed to pay for it. Like Bernie Sanders said the other day, you went to school to get the best education you could find, and now you're stuck with this debt. And it's like, yeah, because you went to school to get the best education you could find, and now, you have to pay for it. There's that disconnect. It's like, well, yeah, but I don't want to pay for it. And I wouldn't mind sending people to school and maybe paying on the tax dollars dime or taxpayers' dime if we were getting engineers and people that were going to invent, the speed of light travel or something cool like that.
Educated.
Yeah, because we need people like that can really bring some good to society. So there should be a carve out for someone like that that's maybe poor but really bright. But we're paying these $200,000 student loans for people that studied, social engineering or whatever these new, women's studies and stuff. It's like, you're not going to get a job in that because there are no jobs in that.
Right.
They're not even picking a field that actually has a job application for it yet.
Right.
And that's what irritates me. And so it's just, like you say, these people decry this white privilege, and they're the ones that are doing it.
Yeah. It's unbelievable, Mark. And by the way, where's the outrage? Where's the uproar from all of these kids that are, in debt up to their elbows and will probably never get out of debt unless the Green New Deal gets through, and then all their debts forgiven. But
why go to school then? Because you don't even have to work to get money then.
Where's the outrage from these kids, man? Where's the outrage about these rich, white, privileged people that are, just sucking the crap out of the system, man?
And
I don't get it.
And Obama's daughter is a perfect example that it's not just white privilege; it's privilege.
Right.
Regardless, whoever the rich family is, they can be from, Mexico or Latin America or Africa or anywhere. If you've got money, you can buy your privilege.
Yep.
And then turn around and the taxpayers, which is, everybody else in America that's not rich, is paying for a lot of this stuff. And we're the problem. And so, it affects everyone of every color, these student loans and stuff. And they're off in La La Land, let them eat cake, ha ha ha. So, so you're going to talk about that on your other podcast?
I'm going to talk a little bit about it. There's just a whole lot going on this week that I'm going to just kind of touch on a little bit of everything. But I thought there would be good subjects for this program as well, because, we are about the issues and chasing the rabbits down the hole. Right. And this whole college scam that's going on right now is just, it's unbelievable. I said it in my last podcast. I talked about, if you remember when you were back in school and the bullies would pick on you, and they would talk about, your family and all this other stuff. And they would, all the time they were picking on you about it. But then if you come to find out, they were the ones that were having those issues. Right. They were the ones that were having the family problems. And so they were lashing out at you. They were getting their inner hatred out at you. So these people that are the ones that are out there. Cortez is out there. Obama's out there. You've got this college scam and all of these things that they're throwing out there. They're the ones that are suffering from those issues. The rich white privilege, for example, right. The very people that are yelling and screaming to the hilt about rich white people, they're the ones that are suffering, that are actually guilty of that. Ocasio-Cortez, she's out there talking about all of the campaign finances and dark campaign money and all this other stuff. And come to find out, she's probably going to go to jail. Well, she won't go to jail, but no. She is in trouble. She's in trouble right now for that very thing.
Yeah, they got get out of jail free cards. And what's interesting about this disparity that they call it and all that, and income inequality. I lived in a really poor neighborhood, in Tucson, South Tucson, actually. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to school where some of my friends they were dirt poor. I mean, they had dirt floors. Yeah. And yet their families had pride. And I remember a lot of my friends would tell me, when I grow up, I'm not going to be a loser like my drunken father. So this horrible things that we consider as bad in America actually were motivation for a generation that grew up and said, if I want to get out of this rut I'm in, my family's in, I need to do something about it. Right. I need to, apply myself. Now, most of them ended up being gangbangers and drug dealers, but there was still that mindset among these kids in 5th and 6th grade that they didn't want to always be that way. And so I think life has to be tough to wake people up. Not that everyone's going to wake up, but you have to live it and be it. And they want to protect everyone from it.
That's a good question. What's it going to take to wake people up? We talk about it all the time, Mark. We talk about it. The people don't care. They just don't care. They don't want to be bothered with it. But then one day, there's going to be a knock at the door, and it's going to be the guy that's coming to take you to the concentration camp or whatever it's going to be. And, then it's going to be, oh, my God, I wish I would have listened.
Right. Because the Jews have all said that. Even the Germans said that weren't crazy.
Right.
So, if we would have stood against this in the beginning, this would have never happened.
Right. Listen, we got to go to break again. So right. Hold that thought. We'll talk about it on the other side of the break.
All righty.
This is Contra Radio Network, internet radio for the discerning prepper and patriot.
Hey, you caught me bugging out of the area because of a critical incident. Luckily, I know what to do and I know where I'm going. Thanks to the Contra Radio Network. I listen to these guys. They give me crucial information on what to do when a critical crisis happens. So, what about you? Do you guys listen to the Contra Radio Network?
Chasing the rabbit so you don't have to. Prepper Guy and Big D have joined forces to dig into the issues. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
Alrighty, and welcome back to the third segment of today's show. Before we left for the break, we were talking about people not caring, and I'd mentioned that one day somebody's going to wake up, you're going to wake up, or somebody's going to come knock on the door, and it's going to be your escort into, the boxcar or the concentration camp, whatever it's going to be.
FEMA camp,
And
relocation camp.
Look, man, I know you think I'm crazy for thinking this way. I know you think that. Not you, Mark, but the listeners. And I know that's why we called the program The Two Crazy Guys. But here's the deal, man. This stuff, whether you want to believe it or not, it is so much of a possibility if we let it get there. My North Korea theory, Mark.
Yeah.
Well,
and it may sound crazy, just like space travel sounded crazy 50, 60 years ago also.
Exactly.
Flash Gordon was considered fantasy, but now we have a lot of that technology. So what is crazy today becomes, oh shit, I should have paid attention tomorrow.
Right.
The Germans during the Nazi occupation with Hitler and all that, a lot of them will tell you that, if we would have stepped up and fought it ahead of time or during that time, we could have stopped that from happening. But everybody was complacent, and they said, well, turn in your guns because we don't like you, you're Jews. But they didn't say that. They just said, turn in your guns for safety or whatever. They complied, and then they were hopeless, helpless.
Exactly.
Have you ever watched the movie with Andy Garcia called Lost City?
That one does not ring a bell.
It is awesome, and it's got I think it's not Dan Aykroyd, but the other guy that's kind of funny from Saturday Night Live back in the day.
Chevy Chase?
No,
he's slapstick.
Yeah, he's nuts. But it's about Andy Garcia is a guy that owns a nightclub in Cuba during the 40s and 50s when it's, the heyday and everything. And then all of a sudden here comes this talk of revolution and Castro and all this stuff. And everyone's like, yeah, whatever. And then overnight, the revolution's basically over. We didn't help them at all as Americans. And then he goes into his nightclub, and the band's practicing and doing all their stuff, and in walks these brown shirts basically, and she's like, you can't play that music because you use a saxophone. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she goes, that's some kind of weird thing they have for it. It's sexual in nature or whatever. Uh-huh. And he's like, well, all my songs have that. He goes, this brings about great music. He rattles off a bunch of songs with the saxophone. And she's like, you can either stop doing that or we'll arrest you and shut your casino down. And so it goes through his life. His uncle is a big tobacco farmer, and I think that was filmed on Fuentes tobacco farm in Dominican Republic or something. But, he loses it. Everything becomes nationalized and everything. And he ends up finally getting out and going to America after half his family's killed. His uncle commits suicide because he loses his farm. And it's all what really happened, even though it's a movie. This is a slice of life for a Cuban family back then that were successful. And Castro just came in and, once he got elected or, won and took office, it changed overnight. Yep. And the people go from a real high standard of living, even the people that worked in this nightclub were paid well because it's a job. They had a job. Well, Castro used it like, well, he's getting rich and you're just a stupid dishwasher. Never mind that you're making more money than you'll ever make under socialism.
Yeah.
And their standard of living drops. I mean, still in Cuba today, you'll see 1954 Chevys in mint condition because they don't have other cars. They don't have microwaves. They used to not have them. And, maybe 20 years after the microwave was invented, they finally got a microwave or two. So you have to watch it just to realize just how painful it was for those people and how sad. And I'm sure you could make a movie just like that about Venezuela.
Oh man, funny you bring up Venezuela. I saw a meme today, I believe it was, and it was if socialism is so great, then why aren't all the caravans running to Venezuela?
That's a good question. I don't know what the answer is because maybe they're confused. Because
no, I mean seriously,
wouldn't that be the direction you would want to go? Why would you flee Venezuela as the Venezuelan people when you got utopia?
But the caravans, why are they coming here? If socialism is so great, why aren't they going to Venezuela?
Yeah, because they kind of are closer to Venezuela before they walk all the way up to Mexico. Is that right? I'm pretty bad at geography, but
yeah. Well,
so head that direction. But no, they risk everything to come here.
See, that's the thing, Mark, is these people are fleeing the very thing that the Democrats want to create out of America.
Right. And why will they get here and vote Democratic when they're talking socialism too? Is it, I mean, a lot of people can be considered a tool, but not 50,000 of them. I mean, if they're running from socialism and collapse and failed, government, you'd think they'd come over here and go, yeah, those Republicans got it figured out. I'm going to vote Republican.
Yeah.
And, obviously it's even better in Mexico than where they're coming from. And it's better in Mexico, as bad as it is, than socialism.
Yeah.
So, why don't the Democrats look at that and go, these refugees or whatever we want to call them would rather take their chances getting stuck in Mexico than go to Venezuela.
They'd rather die.
Yeah. Well, that's a damn good question. And, it might be a meme and it's funny and all that, but the reality is, why don't they make a left turn instead of a right turn or whatever direction that is and go to Venezuela?
It's a real question, and it's a valid question.
Yeah.
And, the Democrats, though, see, when you tell them that socialism has never worked in any place that's ever been tried, their response is, well, that's because they don't know how to work it. See, we know what we're doing.
Right.
We know how to make it work, and so it will be successful here.
Right. And you'd almost have to ask yourself, but why would we want to do that here when we got what we got here?
Right.
Why do we want to change, cars on a road trip that's going really well? I don't get it at all. But, it's, I think there's a war really going on. I mean, just because we're the United States, if this was, Europe is smaller than America almost. And yet you had France killing the Scots, killing the, England. They're all fighting and literally in bloodbath battles, 300-400 years ago. What makes us think that we're not going to have enemies in America? Maybe it might not be New Mexico attacking Arizona, but you have ideologies that would love to literally kill everybody that stands in their way, just like Wallace was in the way of England. And that is the war going on, but we can't fight it that way because we don't just march out in the field and start swinging broadaxes, because if we did, we'd go to prison. But it's still, the outcome will be the same. The agenda is the same. They want to destroy what we have for whatever reason. I can't figure it out, but that's what they want to do. They would rather kill everybody that stands in their way, but they can't for now. So they do it this other way, but don't make no mistake. There's a war going on in America and we are really on the losing side right now. We are not, as I guess, freedom-loving, republic-loving people maybe don't even see that it's going on because we're so caught up in everything. It's going to be a bloodbath. It might be a mental bloodbath, but we will lose if we don't stand and literally fight it one way or another. And
yeah, man.
Because you watch those old battles, in the movies and stuff, and they just go running out there swinging axes and stuff.
Well, I mean, think of this too. You know, the Civil War. Those guys, when they were shooting those rifles, they were at point blank range, man. It's not like they were, 100 yards down range or something. I mean, this was going on, and it was ready, aim, fire, and it was a line of people, just a line of people shooting at another line of people 15 feet away from them.
Yeah, because you had to literally see the whites of their eyes, which meant they were close enough to where you had some damn accuracy.
Yeah, what kind of individual, unless they were so oppressed, would literally risk knowing what you're about to face and go and stand up and look at somebody literally feet away and pull the trigger?
Right. Before he pulled it on you.
That's desperation, man.
And see, even the Civil War was a war of ideology. We can say it was about all this pie in the sky crap, but the reality was the North and the South had different ideologies, right or wrong, whatever conclusions you want to draw from it. It was those people over there were willing to kill these people over here because they disagreed on a point of ideology. And isn't that where we are now, other than pulling the triggers? We're
it's
just
the
pulling
same
different
thing.
Triggers.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And you've got both sides. Both of them think they're right. Both of them think that their ideas are, what's best, even though we know by history that the ideology of the left, being socialists, it will not stand. I've gone through the Green New Deal. I've dissected that thing, and there's no way. You and I both know that there's no way that thing can possibly sustain. It will collapse on itself, just like socialism always does. Right. Yet they seem to think that because they know what they're doing, that they're going to make it work, regardless of when you look at it, when you step back and get out of the happy little bubble and put it all together and look at what it is, knowing it's going to fail, yet you want to implement it anyway. Right. Listen, we got to go to another break, man. We got to go to another break. So hold that thought, and we'll be back right after this. So don't go away.
This is Contra Radio Network, internet radio for the discerning prepper and patriot.
Let's talk about tea. Not just any tea, GetTheTea.com. They have all kinds of cool stuff. They have cleansing teas, they have stuff for eye health, stuff from the sea, immune support, stamina and energy, food and protein, and just all kinds of cool stuff. Log on to the website at www.getthetea.com. Log on now.
The Two Crazy Guys on Contra Radio Network and KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority.
Hi, this is John Jeffers, inviting you to listen to my show, The Jeffers Brief. On the Jeffers Brief, we discuss topics of interest and concerns for preppers and patriots. You can only find us on the Contra Radio Network on podbean.com or KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. Hope you join me, and we'll talk to you then.
Contra Radio Network, Preparedness Radio, featuring John Jeffers, The Mark Boyle Show, The Conservative Underground, and much more. ContraRadioNetwork.com. Log on now.
The Two Crazy Crazy Guys on Contra Radio Network and KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. Talking the issues and taking the hit. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
All right, welcome back. This is the final episode. Man, it goes by so quickly when you're having fun. Listen, during the break, Mark had an awesome analogy. Why don't you tell the listeners about that analogy? Because I love it.
Okay, well, yeah, and I wanted to bring it up when we were talking earlier, but my brain is not the steel trap it used to be. When you're talking to a kid or somebody, or anybody that thinks about it, you go, well, if I take the plug from this power strip and plug it into the power strip, then I can plug in other things and then we'll have free power. And socialism is like that. It's not that me and Don or anybody with any training understand. It's not that I hate the word socialism. I don't like the way it's spelled, or it's hard to spell. I don't like it because it does not work. And so when you plug the power strip into itself, it just doesn't work. You might think it does. Look at it and go, oh, now I got power and I can plug in my lamp and stuff. It just mathematically and accounting wise and just numbers, it don't work. It's not that I hate socialism because, somebody talked about it that happened to be, Hispanic or black or white. It's such a non-issue because when you really break it down, it don't work. It's just, and
yeah,
so,
that's a great analogy. We've actually talked about quite a few things here today during the program. But the last thing that we were talking about there was, the socialism and how the Democrats seem to think that, they know what they're doing, so they're going to make it work. And then, we went to break and Mark brings that up and he's like, yeah, you just take a power cord or a power strip, plug it into itself, and then you got all this power.
Yeah, you got 3 or 4
more
plugs.
Analogy, man. Do you lay awake at night thinking of this stuff?
I don't know where I think of this stuff, actually.
That's good stuff, man. I mean, that's actually spot on.
Well, you've seen those 3D drawings where the steps keep going around and they just keep going up and up and up, but it's an illusion. It's drawn that way, and maybe on paper, well, obviously on paper it works because you can just follow it around until your eyes fall out. Mm-hmm. But in reality, it wouldn't work. The minute you try to build it, you can't because it's three-dimensional. It doesn't work like it does on paper. And socialism and communism are the same thing. When you actually apply it to just mathematics, I'm not even going to bring up accounting because people think that's business and I'm a free market capitalist pig. It does not work because so many dynamics. If I'm not motivated to work for some gain, even if it's just 2 apples instead of 1 apple, I'm not going to do it. And the glory of the state just isn't enough to make people go out and work and get paid the same as a doctor that has gone to school. And the doctor's just like, I'm going to call in sick every day except 2 out of the year because that's all I'm getting paid. It falls apart. And so I think people, when you talk to them about socialism not working, they just think that it's a free market principle or, that I'm fighting against or to save or capitalism. No, it's just math. It does not work. Human nature dictates that it will never, ever work. That's why it's never worked. It's just.
Yeah. Well, you have to have balance. I don't care who you are or how you feel or how you think. And that's where the framers of our Constitution and the founding fathers of this great nation were genius, because they realized that you had to have balance. You have to have some kind of a balance. If you go too far one way or too far the other way, you have Marxists, you have tyranny. You've got to be, because if you take the red wagon way too far to the right, what do you end up with?
Yeah, it's just over there. Well, and when you look at economies, and I read a couple books, by KYAH and stuff on economy, and he really broke it down simple. He goes, this is your economy. If you're Robinson Crusoe and you're stuck on the island, your economy is what you can build with your hands and what you can find, and you can build a shelter maybe. That's your economy. Now, if Friday comes along and Friday goes, well, I know how to make things out of metal. Well, now you have someone else doing something that you don't know how to do. So now you have two things. So you go, well, I can build you this hut because I'm really good at that. And you make me a knife so I can go hunting. That becomes the economy. And it's very organic. It's like nobody would plant a seed on a cliff, and yet a tree will grow there. And so socialism and communism stifle that creativity, that organic thing to where, who would, I don't think they marketed pet rocks in Russia, because I could just hear the leaders going, who wants pet rock? What are you talking? Put him in the gulag, this crazy man. But and you think, well, a pet rock did nothing for society, but the guy that came up with it made millions, and maybe he went on to start another business and hire a bunch of people that went on to do other things, and so it organically grew out of a damn pet rock. And yet a socialist country, Castro would have just killed the guy. It's like pet rock. We got serious problems. We always have serious problems in a socialist society or a communist society because everything's constantly falling apart. Yeah.
Well, the people are who have the problems. The upper echelon and leadership don't have any problems.
Yeah. Like all of Kim Jong-un's, North Korea's leadership are all pretty chunky. Everyone else standing out there marching as skinny as a rail because they're starving to death.
When you brought that up, I immediately went back to the footage in my mind of when Kim Jong-un was going to meet with Trump the second time around, and his car was going down the road and he had his goons walking along the side, and then they went through whatever it was that they went through, the traffic jam or whatever it was. And then it shows, Kim Jong-un's car pulling away, the Mercedes pulling away. And those clowns are running and scrambling to try to get into cars so they could keep up. And I'm thinking to myself, this is how his security brigade works. This is a freaking circus, man.
Yeah. And it's always on the edge of collapse. Like everybody was trying to kill Hitler. They never admitted it.
No.
But, the German people,
that's why, look, all right. That's why Kim Jong-un never really lets too many people get, you see him with his soldiers and all, but the citizens of the country never get too close to him.
Yeah. And I wonder about their generals always have like a plastered medals all up and down one side. They haven't been in a war since we were in war with North Korea, 40, 50 years ago?
They're
60
fake.
years ago? So it's like, they give them all these tokens and they feed them a little better, just like, any collapsed society. You keep your power structure in place by feeding them and taking care of their families, because that's the currency that will keep loyalty, and there is no money. So what do you have to fall back onto as anybody? You either suck up to this guy so you live in a better house and you eat better food, or you're out there, you're the plebes that are begging for scraps. Look at that thing in Venezuela where they're drinking sewer runoff water.
Yeah, you mentioned there's no money, but even if there was money, it does no good because there's nothing in the stores to buy.
Right. There's no pet rock. There's no exchange where there's always someone dumb enough to buy the stupidest crap. Yeah. And that guy makes money, and I've got to go out and work harder so I can afford 2 pet rocks. And it's organic. It just grows. It's like When your blood stops flowing, your arm goes to sleep. It's no different.
Well, it's interesting because it's just, and I don't know why the left can't just open their eyes and see that. No matter, just look around at the socialist nations and look how deplorable it is. No matter who it is, or how well you think how to work something. Socialism, the way that communism and socialism work is that the government absorbs everything.
Right.
And then once there's nothing left to absorb, it collapses.
I think what's wrong with a lot of us in America is we always look at those people and go, don't they see it? But if you think back to the bloody battles we talked about, that is their broadsword that they're hitting us with. They know the outcome. They don't care about you being hungry or socialism working or not. They will be in control. They will have the high castle, and you will be once again a serf. And they don't really care about all of the other stuff. Socialism never works for the people on the ground, the normal people. It works just fine for those that are stealing everything and forcing everyone to work to keep them fat and happy and protected. So they know exactly what they're doing, and they do look around and probably see this stuff and go, oh, that works for what I want out of the deal. Screw all the plebes, because it doesn't work for them, and they don't care any more than when you pull that trigger of that guy 5 feet in front of you. You're fighting for someone's ideology, and if it's not just and it's not moral, you're on the wrong side.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a bloody battle. We just don't see the blood.
Well, so you got any final thoughts? Because we got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. So about 1.5 minutes left in today's program. Any final words you want to tell our listeners?
I think people just need to realize that it is a war. It's a battle without weapons that we're usually associate with it. They're using the media, they're using that, but make no mistake, when it's over, we will have lost our freedom and liberty, the same as Wallace lost his life when the other guy won. It's a war, and if we lose, the results will be the same. We will be slaves and serfs.
Yeah.
And so don't be looking for blood loss here. It's a war.
Yeah, and for all of you people out there that seem to think that the Green New Deal is only about green energy and all, you better think twice, because I'm telling you, it's a lot more than that. It's a very dangerous thing, and we need to resist that at all costs.
And I would say it has nothing to do with the environment at all. It's just another gun they're pulling, or another broadsword to chop off more of our heads to win the battle.
That's it.
They don't care about whether cows fart or glyphosate is contaminating our water supply. They just want to win. And you have to look at it. That's
right. So our time is up for the day. I'd like to say
we are so high tech that our phone rings.
So until next time, we'd like to say thank you for tuning in. And remember, head over to ContraRadioNetwork.com. Say hello to the other hosts. Tell them that Mark and Don, the two crazy guys, sent you. Also, if you're listening up there in Utah, give the station a call. Tell them your thoughts, because that does help us a lot.
Yes, it does. It really does.
So on behalf
maybe we can afford a better clock then.
On behalf of myself, Big D, and the other crazy guy, Mark Boyle, a.k.a. Prepper Guy, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next week.
Adios, people.
Thanks for tuning in. Catch them next time as they dig into the issues. The two crazy guys. Log on to the website at www.ContraRadioNetwork.com.